I always believed in the sanctity of hard work and commitment. Growing up in a household where loyalty was everything, I carried those values into my adulthood. As the son of a steelworker and a teacher, I saw firsthand the sacrifices my parents made for our family. They taught me that relationships, much like the bridges my father built, required a strong foundation and constant maintenance. When I met Charlene, I thought I had found someone who shared those principles. We fell in love quickly, moved into a modest home, and built a life together. Over time, that life grew, first with our 2 daughters, then with the business I poured my soul into. It wasn't always easy, but I never doubted the strength of our bond. At least, not until the cracks began to show. I learned through experience that supporting her financially was less of a strain than enduring the alternative. Owning my own company meant alimony was a certainty if she wasn't working. While my daughters were the most important part of my life, the looming financial burden threatened to limit the time I could spend with them. To make matters worse, there was a possibility she could claim half of my business, leaving me to survive on less than a third of my earnings. I left the lawyer's office feeling defeated, as usual. Charlene was already ahead of me, and when I caught up, she said, "I've been doing this for 8 months, and it hasn't hurt us. He's a great lover, just different." She added, "I don't know who I'd choose, but think before you act. Go see a lawyer. If we break up, it'll be hell, and I'll make sure of it." I stared at her, trying to process who she was. This wasn't the woman I'd trusted for 14 years. At least, I wouldn't have to sneak around anymore. "You'll still get most of my time," she said. "But I won't ignore Jim. I'll figure out a schedule." I got up and left, and she followed me to the street, but went quiet when she saw Mrs. Roseman. I smiled and nodded, and she hissed, "Get over here now," as I walked away. After 2 days, I came back to a smug look on her face. The girls, now 13 and 11, were thrilled to see me, and I spent the evening with them. After they went to bed, Charlene brought me a beer, but I didn't want anything from her anymore. "I'm glad you came to your senses," she said. "We'll live like before, but I'll have dates sometimes. No one will know." I couldn't hold back anymore. "Here's what's happening. I'm staying until Marissa turns 18, then I'm gone. Darcy will be fine, and maybe she'll come live with me. Either way, I'm out." I paused, then continued. "I'm done with you. I won't sleep with you again. You've turned into someone else. I'm moving into a spare room, and I'm not talking about this again. I'll have my own life, and if I meet someone, so be it. But you need a job or Jim better pay your way. The girls will get everything they need, but no more joint accounts." Her face went pale, then furious. "You're an a-hole," she spat. "I still love you and want to be with you. This is crazy. Things won't change." "They already have," I said. "Now go to bed." She shot back, "If your mistress doesn't work out, you'll be popular at Patterson in Maine. You might want to think about that." Later, I caught her on the phone with her lover. I grabbed the phone and said, "I have your number. I'll get your address and we'll talk about what we have in common. Don't worry about me hurting you, but you won't want a relationship with her knowing she cheats." I hung up and pocketed the phone. Charlene didn't say a word when the girls walked in and asked what was wrong with the door. "Just moisture," I said. "I'll fix it tomorrow." When the kids left, I stopped Charlene from going to bed. "I'm keeping your phone until tomorrow, and I'll be checking your account." "Good night," she hissed. "Good luck," I replied, knowing she had no idea I'd set up a keystroke logger on the computer. Soon I had all her emails, search history, and purchases from the last year. She was too careless. Her lover worked for the county as a permit checker. They met when Charlene came to get a permit to build my workshop, really my man cave. When the estrogen levels at home got too high, I'd retreat there, playing pool or watching sports. She had to return a few times for follow-ups, which turned into flirting, coffee, and lunches. Sometimes she led the way. I locked up all the evidence, sent the files to my office computer, and went to bed. I slept surprisingly well. In the morning, I made breakfast as the girls chatted about school and boys. They were obsessed with boy bands, and I barely paid attention. Thankfully, they were still too young for anything serious. Marissa, now 13, was starting to get noticed by boys, so we let her walk with friends, supervised by one of us. We hoped this would help them avoid doing anything stupid when they were old enough to date. Darcy, or Echo, as we called her, was too young for that, but we made sure she had plenty of supervised social time between sports, dance, band, and drama. I dropped the first bombshell at breakfast. "Sorry, girls, but I have new responsibilities at work. Mom will be your main driver for now." Since she's not working, she'll have the time. Charlene tried to argue, but the girls quickly sided with me. They didn't want to ride with their friends, especially after some uncomfortable experiences. Charlene didn't give up easily, but I knew it would be a pattern. Her lover's visits happened mostly during the day, after the girls were off to school. "If you think this is over," I said to Charlene, "you're wrong, and it's not a mistake I'm making." I added, "I've wired the house for sound and video. Get your lover in here, and it'll be online within the hour." She was still talking when I left. I watched the video footage of her freaking out, searching for the hidden cameras. It was entertaining. I also overheard several phone conversations, including one with her lover. He sounded uncomfortable when she vented. "He's ruining everything. He canceled all my cards, and our bank balance is down to $280. The electric bill is due today. We may have to go to Plan B." Her lover wanted to wait. "If we leave now, we'll be broke, and everyone will know why. Let's take it slow, live in nice houses, and keep this secret a little longer." Charlene wasn't happy with that. "So much for love," she muttered. Later, she tried to make plans to meet him at his place, but he refused, worried about the house being wired. "I believe him," he said. "We can't risk it." When their conversation ended, she sat, looking confused. She'd hoped for the perfect life, but reality was quickly catching up. I checked on her later, and she was at the computer, realizing I'd locked her out. "Fool!" she yelled, coming up with every curse she could think of. I called her just to tease. "Hi, honey," I said, dripping sarcasm. "You're having a great day, I see. Your computer's locked up tighter than Fort Knox, and your phone's about to be disconnected. But don't worry, I ordered you a new one. It'll be here tomorrow." "You fool!" she yelled again, but I hung up before she could say more. I overheard the rest of the details through the surveillance system my tech-savvy friend had set up while Charlene was with her lover. That night, when I gave her a new best-in-class phone, she smiled. The next day, I heard her frustration as she tried to use it. The phone had a safety feature for kids, which worked out perfectly for me. The only numbers she could call were the school, my office, our doctors, her mother, my parents, and emergency. Any attempt to dial another number would disconnect the call for 30 seconds before rebooting. She discovered this when she tried calling her lover, and once it rebooted, I called her. "Hey," I said, "guess you figured out the phone only works with preset numbers. It's hard to reach your sweetheart without a phone or computer, isn't it? I'd apologize, but unlike you, I don't lie. Here's a suggestion. Get a job. You'll need one if you want to shop. I'll take care of the kids, but you're on your own for everything else. Maybe now you'll wear those clothes with the tags still on." I hung up before she could respond. When I got home, things were cold. She struggled to keep it together around the girls, but once they were asleep, we went to the basement. She screamed and threatened me, but I just smirked. Then she switched tactics and started crying. "Please stop being mean. I didn't do it on purpose. He's just a fling. I'll go back to loving you. It didn't hurt you before, and it won't now. It's only a few hours a week. The rest of the time, I'm all yours. Come to bed with me tonight, and let me prove I still love you." I laughed. You know, I looked online for excuses for cheating. There's even a book called The Cheater's Handbook with advice on handling affairs. You've used a lot of the excuses in it. It just happened. It won't affect us. It's only an affair. And the best part, threatening to destroy his world if he doesn't agree. She looked conflicted, but before she could respond, I went on. "Let's say I agree to your plan. What do I get? I still pay the bills and do all the work, but now I have to share you with someone else. As a businessman, that's not a good deal. You get to have fun with him, and I just work and wait. That's not happening. Since you've declared an open marriage, I'll be looking too. There's a sales rep I've been talking to. She's into fitness and runs marathons. Next time she comes in, I'll ask her to lunch. I'll explain we have an open marriage, and you've had a lover for almost a year now." She seems pretty open-minded. I could tell that jab about her weight stung. After 2 kids, she was a little softer than when we first met, but that was on her. If she got off the couch and went to the gym instead of shopping, maybe things would be different. She looked shocked. "Why? Why do you need someone else when I'm right here? I still love you. The thought of you being with someone else hurts me." I responded coolly. "I've been free for 16 years, but that wasn't enough for you, was it? Do you think I was thrilled when I found out you were cheating? There's a name for guys who let their wives have fun with others while they stay faithful, just like there's a name for women who do the same. The promiscuous bite express is officially derailed. Think about that. I'm going to bed. At least one of us has to work." She hissed at me as I left. I knew I needed a plan before she really tried to ruin my life. I reached out to an old friend, our neighbor's son, who was socially awkward but brilliant with computers. He had been developing games since he was 14 and had made a fortune by his 30s. Now he lived with his wife in a mansion worth millions. She was stunning, but not the sharpest tool in the shed. I had introduced them a few years ago at one of my parties. At the party, Harry had announced his engagement to June, the daughter of one of my biggest clients. She was drop-dead gorgeous, but a bit naive. Harry had been a shy, quiet guy, but after meeting her, he finally proposed. Their wedding was set for June 17th at Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Broadville. He looked at her with a proud smile, and she took his hand as he made the announcement. Charlene didn't mention the details right away, but she told him the type of ring she wanted, and the next day he gave her a credit card. She took it from there. They'd been together 8 years, and their daughter, Star, was 7. My girls adored her like a little sister. It wasn't unusual for me to come home and see a Lexus SUV in the driveway with the driver chatting with Charlene. She'd always smile and smirk when she saw me. Shanna, a former military woman, was tough, attractive, and highly skilled. She had black belts in 3 martial arts and was a top pistol shooter. At one point, she worked for me, but I could tell she was bored. One day, June dropped by to discuss a social event. I was in a meeting, so Shanna kept her company. By the time I finished, I had lost an employee to June. Another win for them. Shanna ended up living in a small apartment at their mansion, separate from Harry and June's main house. But when a hijacker tried to snatch one of their children, Shanna shot him in the head after only a few minutes. The case was covered up, but the man had been armed and threatening. Shanna was let off, and from then on, she became Star's bodyguard. My girls sometimes vacationed with them, but Charlene always found an excuse for us to stay behind. I knew Harry was surprised by this turn of events, but June wasn't. She seemed distracted whenever I saw her, and at our last party, I caught her in the garden too close to another guest. She pulled away quickly when she saw me. I wasn't sure if they'd been kissing, but I didn't confront her about it. We split up at events like this to socialize, and I noticed her absence, assuming she was elsewhere. But when she came back, she stuck by me all night. Later, Harry and I discussed the situation. "What exactly do you want, Jack?" he asked. "I want my girls in my life, above all, and I want her to regret what she did. It's over between us. But she doesn't realize it yet. When she does, I want to make sure I'm financially secure," I replied. Harry asked about the house. We bought it at a steep discount, around 60% of its market value, due to its elderly owner's neglect. We'd invested a lot in restoring it, and now it was worth twice what we'd spent. Charlene would fight for it after the divorce. Charlene suggested I remodel the basement into an apartment with separate wiring and a driveway, creating a space where I could have my own life and still see the kids. She believed it would be an easy sell in court since the girls would be involved. Shanna suggested another option. "I can handle this. I'll make their lives miserable for you, no problem." I didn't want to go down that road, though. "Let's stick to plan C," I said. Shanna wasn't thrilled, but agreed. Before leaving, she warned, "She's got a thing for you now, Jack. Watch out when you're single." I was surprised. I always liked Shanna, but I didn't realize she had feelings for me. The house was in my name, which worked out since I was the primary earner. After consulting with contractors and a lawyer, I decided to remodel the basement. I also set up an allowance for Charlene, just enough for her to go out, but not unlimited spending. I took her Mercedes in for repairs and installed a GPS system with remote shutdown capabilities. I noticed Charlene's lunch breaks were getting longer. She'd go out with friends, then sneak off to her lover's house for a couple of hours. One day, I followed her GPS, and when she headed to his place, I turned off her car. She called in a panic, saying the car wouldn't start. When I asked where she was, she told me she was across town. She claimed she was stopping by a friend's to get her bag from their shopping trip. I let her sweat for a moment, then told her to try starting the car again. She did, and drove a few blocks before it stalled again. When she finally made it home, she realized what was happening. Later, I recorded a screaming match between her and Marissa, our daughter, where Charlene kicked her out of the room. The sight of our daughter hurt her, but it was too late. When she asked about the basement, I told her I was setting it up for the girls. She thought that meant I was okay with her affair. Charlene bought a new phone, which I planted a tracker on. It turned out she and her lover were planning to leave their spouses and move into my house, with me paying most of the bills. My actions had thrown off their plans. Charlene wanted to call it off, fearing I'd do something drastic. Her lover dismissed it, but she worried about the fallout, especially since he worked for the county. She said I should take a month to think things over while she worked on repairing things with her husband. I decided to use that month to finalize my plans. I set up a meeting with Fred, the county commission chairman, to discuss moving my business. I told him Hanover County had better incentives, which worried him. He didn't want to lose 89 jobs in his district, especially during an election year. I told him I was having trouble with zoning and permits and needed his help. Then I dropped the bomb. Your zoning manager is sleeping with my wife, and I know. Fred looked deflated, knowing the scandal would be messy. I had video and audio of his behavior with Charlene. I told him what I wanted, his resignation and my remodeling plans approved without interference. Fred agreed, saying he'd look into it, and I told him I'd wait until after the election before taking further action. Our relationship was permanently changed. From now on, he'd dread whenever I asked to see him. Another relationship ruined because of Charlie. The seminar happened, and I had the contractor handle the paperwork. Construction started the next day. Charlie seemed indifferent, likely preoccupied with other concerns. She tried to patch things up, telling me she was bored, felt unattractive, and was lonely with the kids growing up. She apologized, claiming she'd just made a mistake with someone who took advantage of her vulnerability. I responded, "What happens when the girls leave for college and you're bored again? You could have found purpose, volunteered, joined a book club, or worked. Instead, you chose to cheat. How's that working out?" I told her I wouldn't touch her. Our marriage was on life support and inevitable to fail. She ran out of the room, crying. In the following weeks, Charlie acted like the perfect wife and mother. We even took a family trip to Disney. But things soured when we went to bed. I rented a room with separate beds, making it clear we wouldn't share. She hinted at divorce, and when I handed her the separation papers, I knew a confrontation was coming. I picked up the girls early from school and took them to the park. They figured something was wrong, but didn't know who was at fault. I gently told them I was moving out. They cried and begged me to stay. I reassured them that I wasn't going far and showed them the new apartment I'd set up in the basement. It wasn't as nice as their rooms, but it would always be there for them. They were excited to decorate it. When we got home, Charlie was livid, screaming at me. The neighbors called the police. I stayed outside, showing the officer the divorce papers and explaining the situation. I mentioned infidelity but didn't go into details. Charlie lashed out, but I kept my cool. The officer wisely asked her to stay outside while I showed him the apartment. When we opened the girls' room door, they were crying on the bed. I comforted them, assuring them their mother was just upset, but would calm down. The officer nodded and told the girls their mom was feeling better. Afterward, the officer told me I did the right thing for the kids and advised me to always put them first. When we returned, Charlie had calmed down and claimed her outburst was because of how much she loved me. The officer reiterated the importance of putting the children's well-being first and wished us both luck. Charlie waved at the officer as she left, then turned to me and hissed, "Living room now." She stormed inside, and I took the chance to lock myself in the house, putting deadbolts and latches on both doors. The new lower door was soundproof, so her screams wouldn't reach me. The girls stayed with me until bedtime, and I reassured them that their mom was fine. Before they returned, I called Charlie and said, "How you treat the girls now could affect your relationship with them later. Think about it." I hung up, and the night went smoothly. Charlie hired a lawyer, and we met in court. The judge, a tired woman in her 40s, asked why I filed for divorce. I explained that Charlie had been having an affair for 9 months, and when I found out, she refused to end it. I also mentioned that I couldn't expose our daughters to this lifestyle. I had video and audio evidence legally obtained to support my claims. The judge turned to Charlie, who hung her head. "You're going to need to make some decisions, Mrs. Sayers," she said. "If you want to save your marriage, reflect on your actions. For now, this is just a trial separation. You have 90 days to decide whether to reconcile or file for divorce." After the hearing, Charlie and I exchanged a few words in the parking lot. She said she felt sadness, not just anger. "I always thought we'd part holding hands," she said, "but now I know that won't happen." For the next 3 weeks, we lived separately, her upstairs, me downstairs. The girls refused to let her into my apartment, which upset Charlie. One day, I knocked on her door and asked her to follow my lead. The girls made dinner, and we all ate together. Charlie complimented their cooking and helped with cleanup. I showed her the apartment, and the girls adapted, having friends over on weekends. I built a pool, making our house even more popular. Some parents noticed our situation, but didn't comment, though a few hinted at interest, which annoyed Charlie. One night after a gathering, Charlie confronted me angrily. "What were you thinking? That woman climbed into your lap?" she yelled. I calmly replied, "How embarrassing would it be if your spouse were having an affair and everyone knew about it? I think that's worse." Charlie was taken aback, but I enjoyed seeing her squirm. I avoided contact with her afterward, though I still kept an eye on her through her phone and daily activities. It seemed she had 2 lovers but was left alone for months. It was sad, but also a bit amusing. After Charlie's release, she cried in her sleep, unaware I had put her phone on a wiretap. When a telemarketer called, she tried to fix it, thinking it was a sign things were improving between us, not realizing it was a signal of our marriage's end. The election was over, and the new county manager promised to clean up the budget. Bob was quietly let go after the commissioners saw the video I gave them. It showed him detailing what he planned to do to Charlie next time they met. They fired him without a recommendation, warning him he'd never work in local government again and might face legal charges. Charlie called, torn between anger and guilt. "Did you have to do that?" she asked. I replied, "He should have thought about this before sleeping with you, and his wife will be fine. She got a good job." Bob's wife, a sweet woman, was devastated. I offered her a job, saying, "It's not your fault he betrayed you, but I feel responsible. If you want to leave, I can help you. If you want to stay, I'll pray for you." She thanked me, still in shock. 3 days later, she called. Bob hadn't told her he'd been fired. When she confronted him, he nearly punched her, but she threatened to call the cops, and he ran. She'd cleared their accounts, but I made sure his kids had everything they needed. She asked if the job offer was still available. It was, and she started working for me the next week. She adapted quickly, working half in the office, half from home, which helped with her kids. My staff noticed the changes. Most expressed sympathy, but Misty, who hated Charlie, caused a scene at the company party. Afterward, I reprimanded Charlie for her behavior, especially since she had started her affair with Bob around that time. Charlie apologized, and Misty accepted. Misty later told me, "You're too good for her. She was always cruel to women when you weren't around." She hinted she'd take care of Charlie if it came to it, referencing her past job as a casino dealer. Misty was a confident, stylish redhead, 12 years younger than me, in a serious relationship with a good guy. I promised to walk her down the aisle and pay for the honeymoon, knowing she wasn't interested in me. One day, when we were alone, I joked around with her, asking if her rug matched the curtains. She giggled, then teased me back about liking smooth floors better. We both laughed, and it lightened my mood for the rest of the day. The other women at work noticed my shift in attitude. Misty must have shared the joke, because whenever I got moody, one of them would try to cheer me up. I realized things had gone too far when our 60-year-old secretary made a joke about hairy rugs. Meanwhile, Charlie was struggling, feeling isolated without a lover, husband, or real connection, except for lunch with friends. After I nearly ruined her best friend's marriage by revealing her affair, neither of them would even talk to her. A month later, Charlie showed up at my door begging for a conversation. I let her in, offered her a beer, and she asked what it was. I told her it was a special imported kind. She asked if I had turned violent. I joked about it, saying I preferred quality over quantity, and mentioned how the girls drank sodas and fruit juice. Charlie admitted she'd been drinking more wine lately to cope with the loneliness, but was trying to cut back. I asked her why she was lonely, suggesting she should go out and scratch an itch. She seemed surprised and asked if it bothered me. I told her it didn't, since we were legally separated, and I'd done the same when we were still together. She confessed she hadn't been with Bob in a while, and their relationship had ended. I reminded her that she gained a lot when she threatened to take everything from me if I didn't let her continue the affair. She started to cry, but I snapped at her to stop. She then told me what she wanted, me back. She missed our family, the closeness, the comfort. She begged for a fresh start. I let her cry on my shoulder before she left, asking for a hug, which I gave her. Later, Marissa and Darcy came downstairs discussing dinner options. They finally decided on a Creole dish, and I suggested they invite Charlie if she wanted to join. After a brief argument, they went out to get food, returning with a movie to watch in the man cave. After dinner, I enjoyed my black and blue salad with blackened steak and blue cheese, while the girls sampled everything, including my plate. Darcy finally gathered the courage to try alligator bites, which turned out pretty good. Afterward, we settled on the leather couch with both girls between us, just like old times. They picked a novel, and I couldn't stop laughing until Darcy nudged me to quiet down so they could enjoy it. Neither of them saw the ending. They both fell asleep, snuggled up to us. I glanced over to see Charlie quietly crying, trying not to wake Marissa. We kissed them goodnight and sent them home, saying I'd stay there for a while. Everyone, even Charlie, kissed me goodnight. As they left, I sat on the couch, wondering if I could ever trust Charlie again. What if she turned on me again? Would I be able to handle another betrayal? Sleep soon took over, and by morning I was still lying there. I took a shower while they finished the movie. Charlie was making an effort. She cooked my favorite meals and didn't complain when I turned down some of her invitations. Our relationship with the girls was improving, especially when school started and she took them shopping. I gave Marissa one of my cards, and Charlie used it frequently, but she didn't overspend. She was learning to stick to the budget I'd set. One day, Charlie asked for a favor. "I've been thinking," she said. "I want to get a job or volunteer. If I do, will you watch the girls?" I hugged her, impressed by her decision. She'd also been going to the gym and was getting back into her old shape. I supported her progress and even gave her extra money for workout gear and clothes. Charlie started volunteering for a major charity, helping with events like fun runs and galas. For the first few months, they were mostly on weekends, and I sometimes went with her. As the weather cooled, most events moved indoors and became more frequent at night. I still went to some, but balancing work and these events was draining, so I cut back to attending 1 out of 3. Charlie seemed frustrated, so I asked, "How would you feel if I dragged you to work with no sleep?" The second morning, she showed us photos from the events, and I didn't think much of it. I trusted her now, and the cameras were still in place, but I hadn't checked them in weeks. We were slowly rebuilding our trust, and I believed she was truly sorry. Then June called and invited us for the weekend. Charlie had a 2-day event, so we kissed her goodbye, wishing her luck. She declined an invitation to stay with us, saying she'd be too tired to drive the extra 35 miles. When we arrived, Harry greeted us, calling me an idiot when it comes to women. He told me Shauna was upset because I hadn't acted on signals she'd sent when things went wrong with Charlie. He also didn't understand why I hadn't just let Charlie go. I explained that I stayed with her for the kids, not wanting any scandal if I had full custody. Harry asked about Charlie, and I told him things were much better. She was more involved with the girls, volunteering and getting her finances in order. I hadn't moved back in with her yet, but I had hope for the future. Later, June pulled me aside to talk. She mentioned how they contributed heavily to charity, especially for tax write-offs, and that Charlie had approached them several times about her new job. June then told me about a black-tie charity event they had attended, where they saw Charlie backstage coordinating. As the night was ending, June showed me a picture of Charlie in a dress I hadn't seen before, standing next to a man. "David Duncan," June explained. "He's wealthy and goes to these events to meet women. He's very good at it. He even tried his tricks on me once or twice, but I wasn't interested." I had a sinking feeling about where this was going. I took advantage of the situation, showed Harry the picture, and we blended into the crowd of 500. Most people were in tuxedos and dresses, and we got a few more pictures, some of them a bit inappropriate. "That's why we wanted you here," Harry said. "We didn't want you making the same mistake again." Unlike most people who would stay silent and offer sympathy later, they were real friends, speaking up to give me time to think. I nodded, lost in thought. The first betrayal had hurt, but this one, after everything, cut deep. My marriage was over. I thanked Harry and June, then went to bed, though I figured I'd be up all night. But once my head hit the pillow, I passed out. By 6 a.m., I was awake, contemplating my next move. The divorce was definitely back on. I'd call the lawyer on Monday and figure out how to tell Charlie and the girls. I'll stay in the basement until Marissa graduates. Maybe Darcy will move in with me, I thought. If Charlie had any sense, she'd agree for the girls' sake, but she doesn't. Time will tell. The next 2 days were spent enjoying time with the girls, though we joined in on the activities. June had decided she wanted horses, so they built a barn filled with 6 horses known for their gentle nature. Harry discovered he was allergic, so June, the girls, Shanna, and I rode around the neighborhood. For lunch, June had planned a picnic by their pond, which could have been a small lake. Harry met us with fishing rods, and I fished for a while before heading back. We practiced catch and release, enjoying the fight the base gave us. While fishing, we talked business. I owed my company to Harry and June. It all started when June mentioned her dry skin, and I, a civil engineer, had the idea to create a special shower wall with pulsating nozzles that washed, massaged, and applied lotion. It turned out to be not only practical, but also very pleasant. Women who tried it loved it, and June shared it with her friends. Eventually, they asked me to build more, and Harry loaned me money to start a business. I rented a workshop and hired 2 guys. We built custom shower walls, and word spread quickly. High-profile clients, including actors and former first ladies, placed orders. Within 2 years, we expanded to luxury hotels and professional sports teams, building larger units for locker rooms. Harry and June helped me secure international patents, and we even sued competitors in France and Portugal, gaining their assets. When it came time for my divorce, Harry shielded the company from Charlie's influence. I wasn't angry enough to destroy her, but I wasn't going to reward her either. I sold the company to Harry, making a profit and staying on as a manager with a great salary. Everything was transparent and life moved forward. In the divorce, I offered Charlie 60% of our assets in exchange for waiving alimony and child support. I calculated the costs with my new salary and set aside that amount in an escrow account for the kids' needs. I gave her a house worth $800,000 after the girls turned 18, with all utility bills paid until then, unless she remarried. My lawyer thought I was being too generous, but I told him I was thinking of the kids, not Charlie, and he dropped it. In the end, she got the house and $2.6 million. A deal hard to refuse. But she did. I watched on security cameras as she opened the papers at the dining room table. The first was the divorce petition. The second was a picture of her with her new lover. I left her a note. I was ready to forgive you, Charlie. I thought you had learned your lesson, but I was wrong. I'm offering you a generous deal, and you'll come out ahead. Just sign the papers, and we'll move on. No need to fight for custody. Share it until the kids are adults. I'll stay in the apartment until Marissa turns 18, and Darcy can decide where to live. Take the papers to your lawyer, and don't make this harder than it needs to be. It won't benefit you to drag this out. Good luck with your future relationships, just don't use me as a reference. I also sent her the same pictures I'd given my lawyer, the ones I gave to his wife. Be careful. This is an attachment alienation state, and a good lawyer can take most of your settlement. Let's hope she's not too harsh. Charlie begged, pleaded, and begged again, but it wasn't working. Please, Charlie, don't read me excuses from the cheater's handbook. You wanted another man and you got him. I'm not your backup plan. It's over. Let's not make things harder for the kids. Just sign the papers. In a few years, when the kids are older, we'll barely see each other. She cried, then got angry. Her lawyer, a tough negotiator, advised me to accept the deal and move on. You've got the evidence, and Charlie's been unfaithful twice. It's not a no-fault state, and if you press charges for infidelity, she'll end up with much less. Charlie countersued for mental cruelty, claiming I had affairs with Shanna and Brenda, Bob's ex-wife. Brenda threatened a defamation lawsuit, and Shanna showed up at Charlie's door, warning her to stop. It won't be me, witch, Shanna said. I have some powerful friends who can make your life miserable. You could disappear. Think with your head, not your A. Charlie, now visibly shaken, backed down. One more thing. After this is over, I'm going after him. He's everything I want, strong, gentle, and kind. I'll have beautiful children with him and build the life I've always dreamed of, just so you know. A few weeks later, I was surprised when a woman I didn't know showed up at work. She said it was about my divorce. After I started recording, I invited her in. I'm Barbara Duncan, she said. I believe you know my husband. He's the one who's been having an affair with Charlie. I shook her hand. I'm sorry for what's happened, Mrs. Duncan. It's not my fault, and I'm sure it's not yours either. Barbara asked for help. I hear you have photos and evidence that could be useful in my divorce. Can you share them with me? Give me your lawyer's name and I'll send them over. She explained that her husband had emptied their bank accounts, leaving her with only enough for a house and clothes for their son. She wasn't working, and her future looked uncertain. Once again, I had to clean up the mess Charlie made. I called John and set up a meeting for Barbara. John, I've got another client for you. Charlie's wife. Give me a time and I'll send her over. And by the way, I'm paying, so give me a discount. Sure thing, John replied. Send her number. Text her when you're free. I turned to Barbara, who seemed shocked. Don't worry, he's good at what he does, and I can afford it. It's the least I can do for you. If you need anything else, just ask. She tried not to cry, but couldn't help it. I handed her tissues and let her cry for a while. Brenda was at her place, and I figured she would understand Barbara's pain. I called Brenda, and she came into my office. I introduced them. You two have something in common. My wife has been with both of your husbands. I'll be out for a bit. I left them alone for 15 minutes. When I returned, both women had me sitting on the couch, and then they kissed me. I didn't expect that. Barbara spoke first. I told Brenda what a nice guy you are, and when my divorce is final, I'm coming for you. I was taken aback. You're my hero. Now focus, she continued. Barbara needs a job. She's got a degree in international business relations, speaks French, Italian, and German. Perfect fit for that marketing position you mentioned. Brenda grinned. You can thank me with a big bonus in my next paycheck. And remember, I'm your chief accountant, so don't even think about lowballing her. Charlie was furious when he found out. Is this revenge? You're treating me like crap while helping these women? I held up my hand. I've reached my limit with you. Charlie snapped. What's your problem? Charlie, shut up. Are you listening? If you don't, this deal is off, and I'll make you fight for every penny. You really think when I married you, I'd end up supporting the women you destroyed? I continued coldly. This is on you, and I'm done. Don't talk to me again. If you do, talk to my lawyer. The girls will tell me if they need anything. She cried again, but I was firm. The divorce is happening. Before the ink's dry, I'll be moving on. The girls need a good role model, not you. Go ruin some other marriage. When you're done, send the wrecked women to me, and I'll try to fix them. Maybe they can start a support group. I've got plenty of experience. Goodbye, Charlie, I said, and left without even closing the door. The girls hated the situation. I tried to shield them, but they eventually found out. They didn't see Charlie for 3 weeks until I convinced them to spend a weekend away. She's still your mother. She loves you. I'm sure not seeing you is hurting her. It's going to be tough, but do it for the family. Darcy, looking older than her 11 years, sighed. We'll go, but you're wrong, Papa. She betrayed us. We'll never have the same family again. She hugged me tightly before walking away. Love you, Daddy. When did kids get so wise and world-weary? I might need therapy, for all of us. It took 11 months and cost Charlie $600,000 before she finally gave up. She asked for an hour before signing the papers, so I called her. What could you say that would make a difference? If you're sorry, I accept your apology. Otherwise, sign the papers. I'm done with the drama. Darcy was 12 and a half now and growing into a beautiful young woman. Marissa, almost 15, looked like a model. The pool and man cave parties still happened, but Charlie never came. I was still paying for the house until Junior went to college. I updated the divorce terms. The house would be sold and the proceeds split. Charlie would still have enough to live comfortably if she managed her money. Before the ink was even dry on the divorce papers, Brenda, true to her word, came after me. I tried to gently put her off. I'd love to, Brenda, I said, but you work for me. If we don't work out, it could get really awkward. I'll quit, she replied without hesitation. I raised an eyebrow. You'll send your resignation email in about 5 seconds, I teased. I laughed, but she wasn't deterred. You love your job, I continued, and no one will pay you as well as I do. Brenda smirked. I could marry a banker. I shot back. You could, but that might take a while if it happens at all. Please stop, she said, laughing. I knew she was flying to France the next day. Maybe you'll meet a Frenchman there. There's a Pierre Jean-Claude out there looking for you. Brenda found a new guy, another accountant, and they're still keeping track of his performance, how many minutes he lasts, how many peaks he can deliver. So far, it's adding up. Barbara took my offer seriously, found a Frenchman, and moved to Nice to run the European division. C'est la vie. I muddled through for about 9 months. I dated a few women I met through friends and events, but other than some physical pleasure, nothing clicked. Harry and Jane looked after me, and I spent time with the girls when I could. Shanna left, saying she loved them but needed to move on. It was a little disappointing, but the girls smirked. 13 months after the divorce, Charlie got engaged to a guy she met through her charity work. After her affair came to light, the charity suggested she could be more useful elsewhere, and she took the hint. I met the new guy a few times. He seemed decent, and at least he was single when they met. I didn't know how truthful Charlie had been about her past. But that wasn't my problem. The girls liked him, and he wasn't trying to play dad. Sometimes he took them out to the movies while their mom worked, and I was glad to see they were adjusting well. Then one day, the girls came home upset. Josh had broken off the engagement. Why? I asked. Really, Dad? It's Mom. What do you think happened? I'd gotten used to it enough that I didn't get disgusted by Charlie anymore. We could be civil, but I didn't encourage her. I had taken down all the surveillance equipment. It was no longer my business. But when Josh showed up, I almost considered turning it back on. I wondered if she was still making those same faces and noises during closeness with him. Thankfully, I didn't give in. 17 months after the divorce, I came home to find Shanna sitting on my couch. She'd stopped by to see the girls. Marissa, now 16, had just gotten her milestone car, a 4-wheel drive Jeep. She picked it herself, a safer choice than most cars teenage girls want. I agreed, even though I suspected it had something to do with Shanna's influence. When Shanna was younger, she had a car just like it. Darcy ran up to me, excitement written all over her face. "Daddy, guess what? Shanna wants to take us camping. Can we go?" I was surprised. Darcy, the girl who wouldn't think of getting dirty, wanted to camp? Shanna grinned at me, knowing I was confused. "You're seriously going camping?" I teased. "I haven't seen you in almost 2 years. And this is how you come back? Hijack my kids and leave me abandoned?" Shanna laughed. "You can come too. I'll probably need help managing all the girls. I'm taking Darcy, Marissa, Star, and a couple of their friends. 9 girls, ages 10 to 16. It might be beyond me." I shook my head, smiling. "You can handle it. You always did, like running a military camp. But sure, I'll help carry stuff and cook." I ordered pizza while they browsed expensive camping gear online. I had a feeling this trip would cost me. Shanna checked in every few days to make sure the girls had everything, even teaching them how to set up tents blindfolded. Star was with her often, already showing signs of being as sharp as her parents and looking like her mother. I hadn't spoken to Charlie in months. She'd been dating other men and sent the girls to my place when she had dates. I wasn't thrilled, but the girls seemed okay with it. One day, Charlie called, wanting to talk about the girls. I knew this wasn't going to be good. She came over, got straight to the point. "Stop turning my girls against me. I'm sick of hearing about Shanna. She can do this, she can do that." I had to hold back my anger, but eventually found my voice. I couldn't help but laugh. "And this is coming from a woman who's had a parade of lovers the past few months? You think they're too stupid to notice? Hypocrite." I paused, then added, "You need to take care of yourself, Charlie. Get back to the gym. Do something with your hair. Do it for the girls, at least." "Anything else?" I asked. She shot me a glare and left. As I walked away, Shanna pulled up. The girls ran out, cheering when they saw her. It was amusing to see Charlie's face turn red. "Why did you do that?" she asked. I smiled. "I've always wanted to, and believe me, it was better than I imagined." Honestly, it felt good to surprise her. As the girls set the table with salads, I prepared the steaks and baked potatoes. After dinner, the girls rushed inside, leaving me to clean up. I double-checked Shanna's list. How could something this complicated be fun? Shanna loaded Star and her friends into her four-wheeler, Marissa did the same with hers, and Darcy and her friends took their own. It was crowded. I was driving the support truck, loaded with gear. Shanna said it would take 4 hours to get there, but it was worth it. We were completely isolated, with the bathhouse 30 minutes away. If anyone needed to go sooner, they'd have to imitate a bear. Shanna took charge, and before long, 4 tents appeared. I was told to store the food in bear-proof containers, which didn't exactly reassure me. The coolers were locked in the cars, and Shanna sprayed bear repellent around the tents and vehicles. Then I assembled the grill. By lunchtime, everything was ready, and the girls were giggling while putting on swimsuits. I drove back to the marina, got the keys for a huge pontoon boat, and had an hour-long briefing. It was designed for 18 adults, so 9 girls and 2 adults wouldn't be a problem. The next morning, Shanna took over breakfast duties, leaving me to chop vegetables for an omelet. She made amazing pancakes with buckwheat flour and fresh blueberries. After breakfast, we all helped clean up, and Shanna took the girls fishing. The lake had lots of small bream, so everyone caught something. We took photos, and the girls joked about shopping for gear soon. After lazing around, we went back to the marina for lunch. The girls wore sneakers over their swimsuits, thinking we were going to a restaurant. Oddly, the place served Italian food, and we shared spaghetti, ravioli, and meatballs. Afterward, we admired boats at the pier. The girls squealed when they realized the big boat was for them, but groaned when Shanna made them put on life jackets. "We have a student driver," Shanna joked. "Better safe than sorry." We set off slowly, and I heard Shanna laughing on deck. The girls were relaxed, and we anchored in a cove with a shallow beach. The boat had a sliding board, and the girls took turns flying into the water. One girl, Vicky, couldn't swim, but Shanna made sure she had a life jacket and took her into the water. Everyone roasted sausages and marshmallows on the shore while Shanna quietly talked to Vicky. After a while, I kissed Shanna's cheek. Her smile lit up the evening. "For helping Vicky," I said. "You're going to be an amazing mom." Tears welled up in her eyes, and she swam off to the bay. I helped the girls clean up and made sure the fire was out. We slowly swam back to the dock, and Shanna asked if she had upset me. I told her she hadn't, just that her compliment took me by surprise. We had a light dinner the girls made, and Shanna and I relaxed in camp chairs, snuggling. She told me about her new job co-owning a security firm. I told her I'd sold my company, which surprised her. It didn't bother me, I said. I got into it to help a friend. Harry and June dragged me into it, and while I appreciated the loyalty, it wasn't my passion. I just wanted enough money to provide for my family, and later, for my girls. Shanna squeezed my hand. I know you don't show it, but Charlie hurt you. I've been there too. My ex-husband left me for a pregnant woman, my supposed friend. At least he waited until I got home, but it still hurt. I was a bit surprised. Shanna had never mentioned her past before, and it made me feel a little sad. Charlie had taught me how to handle pain, so I understood where she was coming from. We relaxed in the chairs until dinner was ready. I was glad my girls knew how to use the grill. Most of the others were clueless. After dinner, Shanna and I did the dishes while the girls sang around the fire. It was peaceful, no one around to appreciate their talent. The girls insisted we get a pontoon for birthdays combined, and I didn't argue. That night, I lay in the tent, realizing I was the happiest I'd been in a long time. I fell asleep with a smile, and the next morning we packed up, making sure we had left the campground cleaner than we found it. As we drove home, Shanna and I held hands in silence. About an hour from home, she finally broke the quiet. I've been thinking about this for years, she said, her voice serious. Here's the deal. You'll marry me, have more kids, and spend your life with me. If you don't want that, I'll leave, and you'll never see me again. Oh, and by the way, I love you. How do you feel about that? I paused for a moment, pretending to consider it. Let me think about it, I teased. Shanna gave me a pointed look. Okay, I've thought about it. Tomorrow we'll pick a ring, and you'll go house hunting. I'm not starting married life in my ex's basement. Oh, and will you marry me? She waited, but then tears started to flow. The smug smile returned as she quickly texted someone. Marissa, who was driving another car behind us, pulled over in shock. Shanna jumped out, pulled me into a hug, and I saw Marissa's message flash on Shanna's phone. Operation successful. Great job, troops. Oops, you weren't supposed to see that, Marissa said, blushing and hugging me again. I sighed and closed my computer, realizing today was my 60th birthday, my last day of work. I was retiring, having made good money, and it was time. Darcy was working with Harry, learning the business to eventually take over as CEO. Marissa, an engineer specializing in bridge construction, had found a life partner and adopted 2 little girls, my only grandchildren. Darcy was still married to her work, but seemed close to an engineer she met through her sister. Just then, Shanna walked in with our twin daughters, soon to graduate high school and go to different colleges. Shanna had been right. Our children were beautiful, and they were starting to take their own paths. Shanna retired on our wedding day to run her company, then sold her share when she found out she was pregnant. My company had grown with Harry's empire, and their insights often changed business strategies. Shanna stopped at our wedding photo, where she and June stood with 9 bridesmaids, all in floor-length dresses and combat boots, holding a sign that read, Operation Successful. We were headed home to the lake, where we had spent many vacations. 2 pontoons and a speedboat sat at the dock, and the guys from our trip often visited, talking about Operation Lake. Privacy was a rare commodity, but we were used to it. As for Charlie, the house went to her, and she wasn't happy about it. But soon, she realized her complaints weren't going to change anything. What really upset her was that Shanna bought a house just a block away. A $500,000 home with a pool and hot tub, and it was written about in magazines. The first year of custody was easy since the girls lived close, though they preferred to stay with us, especially after their sisters were born. Charlie married twice more, but both ended badly. Her first marriage ended because of cheating, and the second fizzled out after a few years. Brenda and Barb even tracked down her second wife and offered her a job. We still see Charlie occasionally. She's quieter now, still holding on to old resentments. Time hasn't been kind to her, and her habits haven't changed. She still prefers the mall to the gym. Dad, hurry up, one of the girls called. If we leave now, we'll have time to swim at the lake. I grinned, grabbed my box, and walked out with my family, ready to start the next chapter of my life.